Hello, YouTube. I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney, and normally on this channel, we answer publicly posted questions from YouTube users, getting folks the answer they need from an employment attorney. But today, not today, because I believe this is going live Sunday, July 2nd, and I gotta put some videos in the can for over the holiday because I'm not gonna be making videos over the holiday. So for the Sunday, July 2nd video, I will be phoning it in with everybody's favorite series, Story Time. We're doing Story Time. Okay. So, a little coffee. This is like I think we'll see. We'll see how people receive this. I think this is like a nice chance to laugh at this guy, this big-faced idiot, right? When I was a baby attorney, so think like 2009, 2010, in that range, my dearest friend in all the world was getting married. And they had just announced their engagement. She was starting a new career. It's a very impressive career as a prison guard. And she got engaged to this fantastic guy who I'm friends with to this day. He's fantastic. He's wonderful. And they came down. I've been living in New York at that point for 4 or 5 years, whatever it was. And it was kind of like things were tight. I was still working in bars as a balancer to make ends meet. I was working as an attorney at that point, but like the pay wasn't great. I think I was basing like $32,000 a year. I had an incentive plan, like a percentage on the cases that I would, win. But I was, my base salary was $32,000, and I had like a loan debt of like $120,000 from law school and undergrad. And people always give me a hard time, like, that's so much loans. That's low for law school. Like, I had scholarships at undergrad and in law school, and that's the loan debt, like, after the scholarships and after working like many jobs through both law school and undergrad. And just to be clear, so this was like one of my first jobs as an attorney. I was living in like a room in a house in Long Beach, New York, which was a super cool beach town, but I was living there like week to week. Like that's how tight things were. Great roommates, great housemates. Love that house. Still friends with all those people, but things were tight, and I wasn't that used to it. Like I had been I had a lot of jobs. I drove buses. I worked in bars. I sold Rolexes. I was a ski instructor. Like if you name it, I did it. Whatever I could do to make money to get by, like I was doing it. I sold computers at Circuit City, and I got like a lot of these jobs. I was actually doing a lot better. Like I'm pretty sure I made more money in a year working at Circuit City than I made my first year working as an attorney. Just it is what it is, right? Part of that was, of course, that the firm I was working for wasn't the best at like paying what they owed me in terms of my incentives, which is shocking given that they were an employment law firm and I was a baby employment attorney, right? But like I wasn't used to being quite so poor as I was. It is hard. It is hard to live in the New York metro area on a base of 32,000, no matter what. But it's even harder when you're under like $120,000 like loan debt from student loans that you cannot go bankrupt to escape. Right? Just giving you context. Anyways, so my very dear friend gets engaged, comes down to New York with her fiance to celebrate a little bit, right? And I had been saving. I had saved up myself probably about $500, which was a big amount of money in that very tight period of my life, right? And at the time, during this era, Top Chef was a big deal on TV. I guess it might still be. I don't really know. I don't follow it anymore. But back in the day, like everybody was watching Top Chef. It was really cool. Listen, I love food. Huge fan of food. I lost most of my palate to radiation during cancer, so like I don't have the same love of food that I once did, but I'm still really into food. Like I have friends who have appeared on like Chopped. I've done work for like contestants on Chopped Junior. Like I'm a fan. I was a fan of like TV food content at one time in my life. Now I'm more about cooking myself and like I'll watch like YouTube and food science and stuff like that, but like not TV. But I was a big fan of Top Chef at the time. And this guy on Top Chef was like a visiting judge, Wiley Dufresne. And his whole thing was molecular gastronomy. And it was like applying science to food and doing these curious Mr. Wizard type food experiments. I don't know if you know who Mr. Wizard was. That was like a guy who was on like 4 o'clock in the morning when you would wake up to go to school, and like he would do science experiments in his like kitchen, basically. That's basically Wiley Dufresne was doing that, but like in an industrial kitchen on scale, like at his restaurant. And his restaurant was called WD-50 at the time. And it was like famous because it was on TV. Not necessarily famous because it was like so amazing, right? It's a lot of stuff with Top Chef. Like a lot of those chefs, it's kind of hit or miss when they actually have restaurants. Like we see that with a lot of TV personalities when they actually have restaurants to like cash in. It's not always so great, right? So I had been saving up a bunch of money in this very winding story, and I was like, okay, they're coming. I got to do something big. They're traveling like 8 hours to come to New York, and I got a reservation at WD-50 for 4 people. And I looked in the menu and I could afford, there was like 3 different, it was like a price fix menu. Like you get, like nobody just orders what they want. Like you select the tier level of the price fix. So I think we selected like the 9-course dinners. And I could afford that. I'd done the math and I could afford the 9-course meal for 4 people. And I could afford, there's like a drink pairing menu. Like you would get like a drink with like every other course or something like that. And I could afford that too. I had like done the math and I could afford that with like a generous, respectful tip. Because listen, I love tipping. I worked in bars for a long time. Big fan of tipping, you know, so like I factored that in. If you can't tip, don't go out, right? Like that. Cool. You can't tip. That's cool. Cook for yourself. And that's all right. Or go to McDonald's. Like that's cool too, you know? But if you're going to like eat out with like service staff, you tip. You got to tip. It is what it is. So I done all the math and everything, and I got the reservation, and they came. And it was a cool day, you know, like we had a lot of fun. And then at night we went to the reservation at WD-50. And the menus came, and I kind of like told the waiter, like, yeah, we're going to do 4 of the 9-course, like I reserved in advance. I had selected in advance, if I recall. And we have the pairing course for the drinks, and like, we're all set. And they were like, cool, yeah, we'll get you started. And they like pieced out. And I was like, all right, everybody, I'll be right back. I'm going to go hit the head. And I did. I left the table. And then I was gone for less than 3 minutes. And I get back, and the waiter's like, hey, yeah, I increased your table to the, whatever it was, like 18-course. I'm just making up a number. I don't know how many course it was. Meal. Because they said they're hungry. And I was like, whoa, no, what? I didn't do that. That's not what I signed up for. And he was just like, yeah, they're hungry, man. I increased the table. And I was like, well, you didn't even ask me. I didn't increase mine. Like, what are you talking about? And he was like, no, they increased it for you. I was like, okay, but, and I'm like in front of everybody. Like I have a date. I have my friend. I have her fiance. I'm just like, but I didn't, that's not what I signed up for. And they're like, it's done, man. It's done. It's increased. I'm like, what? I didn't, what? Okay. And then like the drinks would come, the pairing menu drinks, and nobody would drink them. They were like super gross, and nobody wanted them, so they just wouldn't drink them, and they would order different drinks like that they could actually drink, like whiskey in a glass, right? Or beer or whatever it was. So the drinks were expensive. Even in like 2009, 2010, these drinks were like 20, $25 a pop, whatever it was. They were pricey if I remember. And also, this is all my memory. Like, I'm not sure that I'm getting everything right. It's been a long time, and this was kind of a traumatic night for me. So I was just like watching the bill tally up, and I'm like doing the math in my head, and I'm like, well, there goes my food budget for the month, right? I mean, that's not going to work out for me. It's like stacking up, and not my friend's fault. Neither she nor my fiance knew that I was like gonna get the entire meal for them. Like, this was my like, engagement gift thing that I wanted to do. But I was sitting there, and if I was like capable, if I was smart enough to be able to experience anxiety, I would have had like a panic attack. I was just like, I think like taking out my cell phone, being like, running the calculator, being like, oh God, because listen, the fiance, super cool guy, big fan of this guy. He likes a good whiskey, right? And he didn't know I was paying, right? Like he's like, yeah, we're just having a good time. He made a lot more money than me. He's a pretty successful fella, right? So just having some nice whiskey, right? And I mean, listen, I covered that meal, and I got some more. Oh yeah, the meal was also like horrific. Like nobody would eat the food. We got like 18 courses, and or whatever it was, whatever the courses were, and they were like, yeah, this is bigger menus or experimental stuff. So like the smaller menu stuff we know people like that human beings will actually eat. This is our like super science experiment fancy food that we don't know if people like yet or not. It was basically like the gist of the higher menu. And as it turns out, nobody at the table liked any of it, and like didn't want to eat any of it, and like left pretty hungry. So I paid, I tipped, I did all the things you're supposed to do. Like I think I kind of like had to like run out to an ATM to like get it all covered type of situation. But I was just sitting there like, I don't know how I'm gonna make rent this week or buy food, right? Like I know I have enough gas to get to work, but wow, this is bad. This is a bad situation for me. And in my head, I made that Wiley Dufresne's fault. Like his personal, I don't even think he was there. I don't even think he was there that night, right? Like, nobody did anything wrong. I'm not saying they like robbed me or anything. Like the table told them to increase the menu, right? It's not like the waiter was like, ha ha ha, I will destroy Vince. Nothing like that. Like I'm not saying that. I just wasn't prepared to like effectively like double my spend on this endeavor of taking my friends out. And I, because I'm an insane person, had like a personal animus, like a low key hatred for Wiley Dufresne for a solid decade after that. Like, I don't mean to be mean. This guy, like, his restaurants fail at a pretty good clip. Like, he's put a lot of restaurants in the graveyard, including WD-50. And listen, I hear he's making pizza these days, and like he's serving a nice salad. I don't think the pizza's necessarily very good, I've heard, but like there's some kind of amazing salad he's serving in New York right now that people think is like swell. And I think that's great for him, and I hope he's successful. I'm no longer mad at Wiley Dufresne. I think I'm over it. But it's not his fault that I overextended myself and that things got a little out of hand, it's nobody's fault but my own, right? Shouldn't have tried to swing big. But yeah, every time I would see him on TV or someone would talk about him or someone would like suggest that we go to a Wiley Dufresne restaurant, even at the point in my career where like going to a Wiley Dufresne restaurant was like not even a blip on my economic radar, I was still like, no, I will not give that man money. Like, still, like, I'm pretty sure Wiley Dufresne's a nice guy. I have no idea. I don't know the guy at all. Maybe he's a very talented chef. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe he's not a good businessman. Maybe he's an amazing businessman. I don't know. He just closed a lot of restaurants, right? But even now, it's hard for me to be like, yes, I'm fully beyond this irrational rage at Wiley Dufresne for what I perceived that he did to me that night, even though he was in no way involved. And this confirms what I've always said, that employment attorneys are insane people, and I too am insane. Is what it is. Anyways, I hope this is entertaining. I hope you're laughing at my like predicament and like me losing my mind about like a somewhat manageable sum of money in the scheme of things, although not for me at the time. Like, subscribe, comment down below. Or not. It was not that good of a story in retrospect.